Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslak talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video, I want to talk to you about the number one word that PhDs absolutely can't stand. So if you don't know me, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I want to pay the favor forward and help you out as much as I possibly can. So, what is that one word? That word is can't. Um, I often will feel that way when I start off in a project. It is often daunting and difficult to do a particular project, and when I see the road or when I see all the different things I have to do, the years of resources and years of time, the amount of dedication I have to do to accomplish a project, I often feel I can't do it. It's often a very difficult, challenging problem that you're working on, and the problem solving seems almost impossible at the beginning in terms of tackling this particular problem. But most PhDs, most of us, will never say we can't do that particular thing. We often say we can, right? So the career of doing research, the career of being, an academic, the career of, getting a PhD, career of working in industry and research and R&D, it is a career of problem solving. The goal of what we try to do is often to find solutions to complex problems that most people think that are totally impossible to do, right? So we feel, even though at the beginning when we work on a project and it seems overwhelming, most of us feel and see and believe that most of the world around us is solvable. And eventually, if you keep working at these different problems and you keep sort of twisting and turning like the Rubik's Cube, right? So you can imagine a Rubik's Cube, the more that you twist it, eventually you will stumble across the right combination where the problem is solved. And when I hear people say that they can't do a particular thing or they're unable to do a particular thing because it is of interest, not of interest to them, or it is just, it's too challenging of a problem, it really drives me personally crazy. And I'm assuming it drives many other people crazy because what they're saying is they're just really unwilling to try that difficult, challenging problem that all of us experience. It is all challenging when we start off with something that doesn't seem possible, but the way that we discover new knowledge, the way that we develop as human beings, the way that we learn all sorts of wonderful things around us is tackling those little tiny problems that everybody else is too afraid or believe they can't do, and actually just jumping into it and saying, you know what, I can solve that problem. I might not solve it immediately, but I can solve the problem as I keep working at this and solve little tiny problems along the way until I get to the end goal where I've actually tackled a large chunk of that particular problem. Now I might do this my whole life. I might be, old and gray. I might be, 95 years old, 100 years old and still doing that particular thing. But that's the beauty of it. You do that particular thing because everybody else says you either can't do it or it's a stupid project or it just doesn't make any sense. You do that thing because you really want to do that particular thing and solve that particular thing. So, if you're working on a difficult problem right now and it feels like you're not making a lot of headway, which all of us feel like that, it seems so incremental and seems so tiny. I want you to think about the larger thing of what you're trying to accomplish. So there's two things I want you to think about. The first thing, I want you to think about the larger sort of goal behind why you're actually doing the things that you're doing. And that's going to keep you kind of motivated in that particular direction. But I also want you to think about the little tiny things that you've accomplished over the last day, the last week, the last month, that many people probably would have said, I couldn't have done that. And there's so many actions that you do and so many things that you do that everybody else would discount and say that's impossible to do those things, but you do them on a regular basis, right? So sitting down and writing Writing a couple of paragraphs, it's difficult for everybody. Maybe you're weird and you really like that kind of stuff, but most people find that very, very difficult. Most people find looking at data for a long time very difficult, but you do that, right? Most people find doing lab experiments where you do it 100 times over very difficult and challenging, but you do it anyways, right? So you are doing these things that most people just find challenging, but you're doing it on a regular basis. And so I want you to acknowledge that that is wonderful, that you can do that, and you're actually accomplishing things that other people can't or are unwilling to do, right? So that wonderful word of can't is not necessarily in your vocabulary, and you're actually accomplishing the things that other people are not doing, right? So I want to sort of end this rant to point out that our mission and the things that we do in science is not to do the things that everybody else is doing, right? So all of that stuff that everybody else is doing is redundant, right? So that's all the stuff that people believe they can do, right? But your job is to tackle the thing that everybody else believes you can't possibly do. Nobody is willing to go into that weird area and study that idiosyncratic thing, and that they feel very, very uncomfortable about studying, right? But there's many of us do that in the social sciences, many of us do that in the physical sciences, and we keep doing those things on a regular basis because we just enjoy doing that. And if you were to do the things that everybody else believes they can do, you would not discover anything new. You would not discover anything that's novel. By definition, you are doing the things that people believe they can't possibly do. So, if you hear that word, can't, just know that you are not the type of person to actually do that, and you're going to continue to move forward and develop as a scientist, as a researcher, as a PhD, and you're going to keep saying the word, I can do this. This is something that I do. It's not only I can do it, but I actually do it. All right, so if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.